Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about integer exponents. So exponents that are negative or zero. That's what we're really focused on. We're getting into law of exponents now, and it is a little tricky, but once you practice them, it's really not as bad as it seems. So here we go. First thing we want to look at is your star chart. This is what you're going to see on your EOC and any test you take from here on out. So we are focused on the properties of exponents. We've already gone through those linear equations. So we're now on properties of exponents. We'll get into factoring soon, and then we'll get into quadratic equations. So now we are looking at negative exponents, and if you look at the rules, there is no rule for zero exponent. That's just going to be one that you have to memorize. So we have a variable, and I want to talk about some invisible numbers. So remember, when you see x by itself, there is a 1 in front of it, and there's also a 1 that's an exponent. Those things you're not going to write. So you need to kind of keep that in mind. 4x squared y is actually 4 to the power of 1, x squared y to the power of 1. So the exponent that is right after the letter belongs to it. Okay, it doesn't belong to anything else. So negative exponents. Here are your rules or steps. Circle the variable with the exponent or the number with the exponent, and then you're actually going to move it to the other side of the fraction and change the exponent to a positive. So I will tell you more what that means in a second. So our first example is b to the negative 4th power. So you can kind of, a simple way of thinking of negative exponents is repeated division, because exponents are actually repeated multiplication. So that's why we want to make it a fraction. So remember, when I have something that is not a fraction, to make it a fraction, I put a 1 under it. So that's one of those invisible numbers. So I'm going to circle b to the power of negative 4. I want to move this guy out of that top floor because he doesn't want to be negative. He wants to be positive now. So I've got to get him to the other side. So I physically will move him to where that 1 is. And of course, I can't just get rid of that fraction bar. It has to stay there. And what was on top with the b? An invisible 1. So that invisible 1 is now a placeholder up top. And I've got b to the power of negative 4. But remember, my last and third step is to change it to a positive. So 1 over b to the power of positive 4. So now example 2, we're going to get a little more into it. So we have 7x to the power of negative 3, y squared over z to the power of negative 5. So now we actually have two exponents that are negative, so we've got two things to move. So I want to move this x, and I want to move this z. So I'm going to move x to the power of negative 3 to the bottom, and I'm going to move z to the power of negative 5 up top. So once I do that, remember, once I move it, my last step is to make them positive. So my final expression would be 7y squared z5 over x3. And the reason why I put the z after the y is because we want to keep it alphabetical order. So it would be y and then z. The x is just on bottom. There's no x, so it just would be what it is. Okay, so next we have zero exponents. So a zero exponent just tells me that a to the power of 0 is 1. So anything to the power of 0 is going to be equal to 1. So I only put one example. It's 7x to the power of 0 y squared. So that x to the power of 0 that I've circled, that's going to become 1. So 7 times 1 is just 7. So my final answer would be 7y squared. And that's it. So that's all we're practicing today. Just negative exponents and moving them, and zero exponents. So good luck and have fun.